I thought these guys, throughout the course of the year, this is 12 games we played, and I couldn't ask for anything more as a head coach, the way they prepare. Obviously, I had a little situation pop up again this week, and when I was getting on that plane on Wednesday to fly to Miami with my wife to, do some things that are personal, I was only comforted by the fact that I had a group of coaches, a group of players that have really shown me that they know the process weekly on what they need to do, how they need to do it. I literally met with a team Tuesday morning, kind of did an introduction to Northwestern. We go through about an hour and a half, hour and 45-minute film session. During that break is when I found out that my father-in-law had passed, and I never saw my team again until late last night. And really just felt all week when I kept catching in with Ryan and Barry and Sean that these guys were locked into playing a really good game. Didn't worry. I know obviously Nebraska wins yesterday. Everybody starts talking about that, and our guys just worried about playing this game. This was the 7th rematch game. A year ago we were a game shy of bowl eligibility. This year we're a game shy of making it to Indy, and a lot of positive steps for our program to play Northwestern, a team that we had lost to 6 straight times, to play the way we did today and answer the bell. I couldn't be more excited about this team, where we're at, but more importantly where we're going. So with that, from an injury standpoint, Chase just didn't really want to put him back in there at the end. He's done a lot of really good things. Reggie's running well, sitting down showed. We really could put Sidney in there, tailback, but I think he's going to be okay. I just didn't feel like it was something we want to press the envelope on here at the end of that practice today. But otherwise, everybody came out pretty clean.
Coach, you could have won with Sidney Brown today. With the 2 picks, two touchdowns. Just talk about what he did.
Sid's really, since I've come here, right, like he played good football, but he really hadn't played at the level that we saw him start playing at last year. And then, I was talking to a couple of their coaches before the game, and they're like, man, 30's a terror out there, right? Like, it was before the game, and I'm like, yeah, he's a very, very exciting player to watch. When I talk to NFL teams, he does play down in the box well, but he plays high post safety and does some stuff in cover 2. He's incredible on special teams. The good thing is today he did some good things for us to win the game, but he probably put on film again some things are going to make him some good money in the future.
Bret, I know you have a lot of respect for Northwestern.
Yeah.
It's clearly been kind of a frustrating few weeks for you guys. Was this kind of a chance to let it out in the last game?
Yeah, obviously you guys saw me last week after that game. I was just extremely frustrated with the situation. Look, we played 12 games. We're 8-4, 8 games that we won. A couple of them probably, could be a coin toss game, depending on you look at Iowa, the game. But really, that was probably the only one, right? And then we lost 4 games that were 1-score games, and that will motivate and galvanize whatever you want to say, myself and the coaches during the out of season as much as anything. Just those 4 that got away from us. But I thought this crew would play extremely pissed off this week. I really did. And then just their demeanor last night when I saw them, I got a bunch of hugs and some great things. But I just knew of watching them last night and then seeing their intensity today that they were going to play pretty well.
Bret, how are you holding up? I mean, what
Yeah.
are you to go through a week?
It's undescribable. I appreciate all the thoughts and I mean, I got so many well wishes. I can't get on top of my texts and my phones. I give credit to Northwestern. I said this to the TV crew last night. 2 weeks ago when I lost my mom, the first Big Ten coach that I heard from was Fitz. The other night when I lost my father-in-law, first Big Ten coach I heard from was Fitz. So a lot of respect for this place and what he's done. Does it the right way, but my wife lost an incredible man in her life. He's awesome dude, but I hit the lotto in 2 categories. First in my wife, but in my father-in-law. He and I became, from the first time I met him to where we are today, I always said he's my favorite father-in-law, right? My only one, obviously. But he and I did fishing trips. I even took him to Vegas. Like, who takes their father-in-law to Vegas, right? I did. And I still remember just seeing his smile on his face. I know today, actually, we went to his office on Thursday, and on his yellow pad, some of the guys know this, I'm a yellow pad guy. I don't use white paper, I use yellow pads, and he had a yellow pad written down Saturday at 3:30, Big Ten Network, watch Bret. And so that was on his list to do, so I think today he watched us.
You think about football's obviously your job.
Yeah.
It's your passion's where all your time goes, but sometimes it can be just a respite to have a game to go to?
Yeah, I knew last week. I kind of had a rough couple days where I didn't know if I was going to be able to do this, but my wife was emphatic, and then when I saw that on Greg's notepad that the game was scheduled, I knew I was going to coach in this baby. I had to do some dynamics, just getting everything arranged. I appreciate Josh and the athletic department and everybody and my coaches letting this all happen. But to be quite honest, because of what we teach in our program, we teach a lot about football, but we kind of have some things walking in and walking out. I always tell our players, I need you to be at your best when it's at its worst, right? So that was my message to them last night, right? And when it was at its worst for me, I need to be at my best for them. And on the flip side, they needed to pick me up, and obviously they did that tenfold.
Brett, you tend to see things before they happen a lot of the time. Did you see Reggie Love having this type of?
I didn't have any question about Reggie. So what Reggie does is very unique. Is Reggie plays with incredible low pad level for a running back. He plays with really, really low pad level, and he keeps his legs going. So that's why you've seen him, I think probably 4 or 5 times now, where everybody thinks the play is down, and he just kind of comes out the backside. So he's a very talented player. He gave me a huge hug after that play. He and I have had some really, really good conversations and talks that aren't really anything to do with football since I've been around him. And I think when you experience little things like that with players, these football moments become that much more special. I also give a lot of credit. Chase Hayden didn't get any reps in there today, but those running backs during Chase's kind of on in there, out of there, have really done a great job during practice, and I knew we'd be able to have a success today.
And you mentioned, Nebraska's win yesterday. Did you have anybody keeping tabs on Purdue, Indiana?
No. My chief of staff, Mark Torresani, he's been with me the whole time since I've been at Wisconsin. He knew that I wouldn't really want to know or ask or anything. I knew somebody came up to me at half and said what the score was, right? And then I didn't even mention it again until there was like a minute left or 2 minutes. I said, what's the score to Indy? And that's when Kevin Kane upstairs said, not good, and went from there. But I think you got to take positives from negatives, and obviously there's 4 games there that we really, in my opinion, could have been on the other end of, right? And if we just had any one of those 4, 2 of those 4, it's a no-brainer, right? So I'm excited as hell because I think we're only scratching the surface of what we can be. I knew we needed to get bowl eligible this year to keep moving in the right direction, and I really want to just play Michigan or Ohio State, right? I just wanted one more chance to play against a Big Ten opponent. That's probably what I wanted to do more than anything.
Brett, what does this season tell your program internally and externally?
Well, recruiting-wise, right, like you guys follow, right? We can go toe-to-toe now, I think, with a lot of really good players, right? I saw there last week, we were playing at Michigan, and there was a safety that plays for them as a true freshman, and there's a linebacker from the state of Illinois that plays for them that I think if that had happened this year, we might be able to get those guys. But a year ago, there was just a talk of what we could be. There wasn't the reality of what we can be. So I think now we put on paper that we can play with anybody in the conference. I know that some of those guys were at the Michigan game, and I kind of told them after the game, I said, listen, the next time we come up there, it's probably not going to be under the same players, right? But I think the results can be changed in a heartbeat. If we just keep recruiting the way we have to, getting our players developed the way we have to, and see these things continue to grow.
Were the guys kind of disappointed that they didn't get the shutout at the end? I mean, to get that close and then a field goal.
No, I don't think they even crossed anybody's mind. I think we'll take a 41-3.
41-3.
Yeah, I think we'll take that one all day.
Brett, what conversations do you have with players who have big
Great
decisions
question.
to make in the next
Yeah,
month?
so I really, since our second bye week, have had a lot of conversations myself, Pat Hamilton, Jay Kaiser, because kids have started, last week I think 700 kids got in the portal, so we kind of have projections. But tomorrow I think everybody just kind of take a day to breathe. And then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday I'll probably have a lot of conversations with guys that, exploring NFL opportunities, guys that, maybe exploring opportunities that, guys with 2 or 3 years of eligibility that because of COVID rules, it's just a whole different wild, wild west. There's obviously new NIL rules. There's a lot of different things. Fortunately, in the NIL world, really to retain players is still, something that's a pretty new concept for people, but it's something we're working through on a daily basis. It's really going to be a unique week this week in preparation because we can't, I told them they get all tomorrow off and all Monday, but we'll work our guys. Tuesday, we'll come in and watch the film. Our travel roster will lift Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. We're actually going to practice our Devo guys Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, so those guys will get a bunch of reps that allows us to do this by bowl eligibility things. So this is a really fun time. This is probably one of my more enjoyable times of the year.
What is it about this team that they can play pissed off and not have that be like a detriment?
Well, they were playing a little. I didn't like the personal fouls we got today. Right, there's a couple on the sideline, but I think they take on demeanor of their coaches. Our coaches are very intense people, good kids, just like I get good coaches that like to play the game the right way. I think a lot about like what do teams look like after we play them, right? And I know the way we play is a physical type of game, and I think offensively we'll have a huge jump next year. Just I think Barry in the system, and obviously with the players that we got returning, I think we can make a huge jump. And then defensively, we have some players to replace through roster development on our roster right now, but probably also through the transfer portal. And you know, for instance, like at safety where we're going to lose some key players. There are 4 safeties that before we got here really hadn't done much in college football. Kirby Joseph, drafted last year, is now one of the best players, impact players in the league. And then you got 3 DBs with Quan Spoon and Sid that are playing at the highest level of their positions, right? Like, I mean, it shows what we've been able to do. That didn't happen by chance. Those guys have been developed, they've been put in a scheme, and they're very productive.
Day when unbeaten Michigan and Ohio State play, it just kind of underscores the argument that there's the divisions are lopsided. After going through the division the whole season
Yep.
and seeing it from more toward the top than you did last year. What's the difference between the two? How far away is the West?
You know, so I was back in the conference when there used to be the Leaders and Legend, and I was actually a unique perspective. I was the last coach that won the Big Ten title without a championship game. And I remember, you know, at some point early in my career, I was with Coach Alvarez and talked about, you know, like, hey, we got to, you know, Ohio State, and he goes, you want to win a championship? And I said, yeah. And he goes, you got to beat them. Right, and we beat Ohio State that year, number 1 in the country, and we knocked them off. Next week we beat a top 5 Iowa team, and then we closed it out with 4 regular season wins, and we won our first Big Ten championship. And then the next 2 years, it was in divisional play, Leaders and Legends, and we won our 2 championship games. Had a rematch game against Michigan State, and we had a rematch game against Nebraska, and we won both of those. Like, if you want to win championships, just win. Like, that's what it is. Who knows with these new coaches or these new teams coming into our conference, but I love the Big Ten Conference. I'm obviously a huge fan of it. That's why the most exciting part is coming back to it. But however they lay it out, we'll line up and we'll play the rules, play by the rules, play the schedule they give us, and see what happens.
What's the feeling like for you as a head coach when you know 2 straight weeks you've been missing for practice and you have a staff that can handle this and without a team, without its leader and function?
Well, I'm glad it happened at the end of the year, not the beginning of the year, right? And today's communication, we do a lot of things, but really Ryan and Barry's been with me for 5 years prior to here, right? Ryan's been with me now into year 2. Part of the thing that I gave them when I hired them was like, I'm going to make you as good as I possibly can for when your opportunity comes as a head coach, you're ready to roll, right? And I really handed off a lot of that stuff to Ryan this week. He did my Thursday travel meeting and knocked it out of the park from what I was told by the people in there. I knew game plan wise, really by Tuesday morning when we met and had all day Monday, I kind of knew where we were going, right? But the pulse of the team really is handled by the coaches, their leadership, and yeah, I couldn't be more excited about where we're at.
We'll head out to the field to do the
Thank you.
players. You guys can let Coach B get out of here first, though.